So we didn't plan on wearing the same pants?
Even matching, mate. How good's this, eh? Mine's a bit dirtier than yours, eh?
Yeah.
It's like my hat.
Well, you're planning on doing this for a while, haven't we?
Mate, we have so. What a great thing it's going to be, I think. I'm really excited, mate. Really looking forward to it. Guys from the Golf Podcast, episode 001. Whew, I'm excited.
Think so.
And now that we're actually going, I'm a bit nervous. I don't know if you're going to do some nerves, mate.
Oh no, look, I think we'll just warm up a bit. The zero alcohol beers probably won't help.
That doesn't help a lot. But anyway, so anyway, I'm Ash Garner.
Mikey, Cunningham.
And we're the guys in the golf, and this is our podcast. So so I'm Territorian, born and bred, as you know. Born in Darwin, RDH, but my parents lived out at Port Keats at the time, so from a very young age I was living fairly remote, out in the bush. Grew up out there, spent a lot of years out there until early teenage years. Went to boarding school, but first cut my teeth in places like the Moyle River and Little Moyle and things like that, catching barras and crabs and chasing pigs and all that sort of stuff. And went to boarding school down in Toowoomba, and then once finished boarding school, came back up here and loved the territory, and been here ever since. So been at in Borroloola or King Ash Bay area for 20 odd years now.
Yeah, well, my story couldn't really be much more different than that. So I'm a Queenslander, born there in Toowoomba. Before I was 1 year old, moved overseas. My dad was in the army, so we moved with the family a lot. Lived in Germany, Hong Kong, Melbourne, Canberra, Gosford, Gold Coast, and then moved to the NT maybe 10 years ago, I reckon. Moved here to King Ash Bay.
Yep.
Where most people would go to maybe Darwin first and then move rural.
That's it.
The rural thing. I didn't go to Darwin for 5 years or something after I moved to the NT.
That's it. Well, your parents were living here at the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's how we found out about the place.
So, and then, came up for a holiday, and then, as most people do, you spent 5 minutes here, mate, fell in love and wanted to come back, and got some work lined up and got into it. So, and here we are now, mate. We're starting a podcast.
Yeah, so we met each other, 10 or 12 years ago?
Yeah, it'd be around 12 years ago, I think. Yep. Here at King Ash Bay on your first ever trip here, and playing darts, I think we were, mate.
Yeah, it was last night for sure.
So, then you went back down to Queensland. You had a business down there, so this is your background is obviously multimedia sort of thing.
Yeah, film and TV, even making websites and graphic design and stuff like that. So, used to make TV commercials, all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and that's obviously now you're making YouTube videos full time. So
that's the dream. Well, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, hopefully, it's going in the right direction. And look, if I'm still doing it at this time next year, it means that it's going really well.
It's going all right. So
otherwise, I'm going to have to go join the real world and go get a real job again.
Yeah, well, one thing is with podcasting, I suppose, is because you are YouTubing full time and you're staying here at King Ash Bay, and you're almost drive out. So you're here for a few weeks, and then in Darwin with your wife and kids for about 2 weeks at a time. So obviously spending a lot of time on that road backwards and forwards. You like listen to podcasts. I know I listen to quite a few, and might have put you on a couple of good ones, and Rogan and things like that. So both of us really like that, and like this sort of format. And one of the big things, like Tales from the Tinny podcast, which it's been one of my favourite ones for quite a while. And these guys have been around for, I don't know, maybe 16, 17 years or something like that. And
how was it, 800 episodes or something?
Something like that, mate. Yeah, I was only reading today. Just under 1,000 episodes there. So, just by coincidence, we've been talking about doing this for a few months now, and trying to get things organised for it. And then we just found out a couple of days ago that they're finishing up. It's their last ever year, so very sad to see them guys go, and we're certainly not in any way trying to replace what they've done. They've done a great job over the years, and I know I've called in a few times with a few times. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What did he give the local fishing report or something for down this region? Or
yeah. Well, I was still doing fishing charters back at that time, so I was just giving a few fishing reports and. I think it was actually a Valentine's Day one. I'd just taken Katie, the missus, out fishing, and got her a big jewie at Crocodile Point that morning, or the morning before, and called in and had a yarn till that was the first time, and I spoke to him several times after that, and I know your old man's been on it as well, talking about a guy catching a metre barra just off the bank at Howard area.
I was on there once.
Yeah.
They come around and interviewed me. It was after I did a trip to Shady Camp.
Yeah, and did they interview you in person too?
Yeah.
Not a phone call.
No, they came out. I can't remember her name. She came out and had this special big recorder thing and whatever. I'm doing the whole get them all up, and all.
All
All that stuff. But yeah, so with that story, so you were a charter operator.
Yeah, so finished boarding school in 07 and came back to the Territory, and then I spent about a year or so, not actually in Boral or King Ash Bay, but around the Territory, working for a company doing road maintenance and that sort of thing, straight out of school, first job. And then, just was too far away from the water too often, so came back to Boral, where my old man was, and my parents' business there, helped him out for a bit. And then ended up going to Darwin, doing my coxswain's ticket, and commissioned the building of my first charter boat, which is 5 O'Clock Summer, one of your favourite boats, I think.
Man, such a good boat.
I've since sold it, unfortunately, but did fishing charters for about 10 years or so, both from Boral going out to Bingong to Mule Creek, out around the Isles and that sort of thing, and then obviously I moved out to King Ash Bay about 6-7 years ago, and then did charters out of here for several years. Until the pandemic. So that ended that sort of thing for me, and had no other means of income other than the lodge, which we bought out here to coincide with that fishing charter business, was our accommodation business. And with no trade over for a couple of years, I ended up getting into the commercial sector and into commercial mud crab fishing, which is what I'm still doing now. That's my primary source of income now, is doing that. So it's been a good thing for me, really. I really enjoy the commercial side of things. I know you've been out with me a few times. There's plenty of videos. You've made miles of videos around it.
The viewers love it from all over Australia and the world. They love it. They love seeing the behind the scenes. I'm very lucky that I get sort of unrestricted access behind the scenes with guys like you and some of the other boys. And go see how you operate and all those. People find it fascinating.
Yeah, well, it's very different to what you would imagine too. I think so many people have this idea about what it is, but I think your videos have certainly shed a light on how we do things, and things like sustainability and things like that people aren't aware of, and things like breeding cycles and how the mud crabs actually work, where they live, and things like that. You're shedding a light on that, and teaching people at home a brand new thing. And obviously there's a million YouTube videos out there on fishing, even barra fishing. There's a million YouTube videos, but in terms of actual commercial fishing, especially commercial mud crab fishing, there's no professional videos that I've come across anyway that is actually commercial mud crab fishing. So plenty of guys have got TikTok pages and things like Instagram and stuff, but in terms of an actual commercial production like what you're doing in very high quality, there's not much there. And that's why I think your videos have really taken off in that area, especially your episode Gulf Mud Crabbers. And that's gone into merch now, hats and shirts and everything, because that was extremely popular, and people loved it, seeing what we do. And so so
your mum's done a few miles on that river between being a charter operator plus your own personal fishing, and then now up and down the river every day almost grabbing.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So I'd hate to think how many Ks I've done in the boat. I'd hate to think how much I spent on fuel going up and down that river. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it's 40 Ks from here to the mouth, and that's just to get to the start of work. And then when we did that Gulf Mud Crabbers episode last year, we were 100 Ks from here. So, we took the barge up there and 2 boats and, 5 of us and 3 dogs and
trip of a lifetime that was. I just went and rewatched that episode. I think I told you yesterday. I went and rewatched it. It just got me inspired. I'm like, wow, how do I replicate this? Yeah, I can't make a video that good ever again.
There was just so many good points about it, and there's all things you just could not plan. I mean, the first night we're there, we lost 1 dog. We were not there 5 minutes and we lost a dog. In actual fact, I don't even think you and I made it there.
No, it was gone by the time. Remember, we went back through the footage, and when Mullet was taking us through the creek, the dog was not on the back of the boat then.
Correct, yeah.
So he already lost the dog when we got there.
Luckily found it again the next day. Mullet Eagle or Mullet saw him up in the bank, and we managed to rescue him. And then from there, I mean, you got some, because the water's so clear there, you got some awesome underwater footage, you know, which has racked up a few million views now, I think, on TikTok. You know,
it's all to do with the commentary behind it.
Maybe we'll see how the podcast goes. That was another thing, and then what else? There was something else.
The helicopter.
The helicopter. Yeah, absolutely.
We're in the middle of nowhere. You can't even explain how far away from civilization we are. The helicopter's around the bend, and he's sitting on the beach, the bloody helicopter.
Yeah, so guys from a nearby tourism operator bringing some people out there for the morning to have a bit of a look around and walk on the beach, and we just pulled over and said g'day and gave them a few crabs for dinner, and that ended up being a regular thing for a few days. Every time we brought new customers out there, we'd go and drop off a couple of crabs, and then he was actually supposed to bring some steaks back.
That's right.
And one day he flagged me down. I was actually by myself in the boat. You stayed back to do some housework on the mothership, and he waved me down. So I went and said g'day. And he said, "Oh look, I forgot them steaks, but grab one of your mates and I'll take you for a look around." So we ended up going for a cruise in the chopper and had a look around that coastline, which is just amazing. It's just, you know, crystal clear water, and, you know, seeing all the big sharks and turtles and dugongs and stuff like that. It's just a completely different perspective.
Yeah, we were almost in shock afterwards, I reckon. We were just looking at each other, shaking our heads, going like, what just happened?
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. King Ash Bay is already 700 kilometres from the nearest set of traffic lights, and then we're 100 k's by boat up the coast from here. So, you know, we're a million miles from nowhere. So, you know, to go for a helicopter ride like you would if you're at SeaWorld is, you know, unbelievable. So obviously that was one of the biggest highlights, was the helicopter trip.
Yeah.
But then, you know, and you don't even realise all the other good things that had happened previously in that week or 10 days of how long we were there for, until you actually came back and actually made that video. And now, as you said, you know, you can actually go back and watch those things and relive those things, and you know, people that weren't there can live vicariously through those videos and really get to enjoy it as well. And I suppose that's what we're trying to achieve here by doing this podcast is by, you know, obviously Mikey makes his videos which are bloody awesome, but, you know, what we want to do is tell some stories and bring some other people in to tell some stories as well, so that
go into more details. I feel like videos is very sort of fast paced. I try and keep it fast paced.
Yeah.
At least I feel like we can just slow down and go through some more details. And people love hearing information about this area, you know, especially first timers coming to here, coming anywhere to the Gulf, anywhere in the Northern Territory even. Like, it's like a trip of a lifetime for a lot of people they're trying to plan. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. I know, like, having the lodge here, you know, especially guys that have been here for the first time, you know, you know, sometimes you can't get away from, you know, or you would know yourself from, you know, we're sitting down at the bar there and having a beer, and you get talking to a couple of guys that never been here before, and all of a sudden it's, you know, it's closing time, it's stumps down there, and we're at home time because you've been there talking all night about all different things. So I suppose, you know, that's the idea of what we're doing here is to try and get this out to a broader audience, people that might be looking at not necessarily coming here, but anywhere that's sort of remote in this sort of northern part of Australia.
Yes.
And that's again why we call it Guys in the Gulf. So it's not, you know, strictly just about King Ash Bays or you know,
fishing. It's not just fishing or crabbing.
Yeah. So you know, any interesting stories, and obviously being at King Ash Bay, you know, we don't just get fishermen through. We get all sorts of people. You know, families coming through. You know, people like you know, that are you know, doing their trip, especially you know, post pandemic now. You know, a lot of people bought a caravan, bought a Toyota, or, you know, 4-wheel drive, and they're doing you know, these trips around Australia, and so we get all sorts of interesting people from all walks of life here, and with some great stories. And I think this is a great way that we can actually, you know, save some of those stories and get them out there to other people, and try and inspire some people to, you know, don't just think about working all the time. Don't just think about, you know, the 9 to 5. Think about what, you know, the other things you can do, and hopefully we can give people some inspiration to get out there and enjoy themselves.
I just thought of a couple of cool stories there. So when you were saying about they're not just fishermen coming here, got me sort of ticking a lot. We get variety bashers coming through.
Yep.
We get bird watchers, all sorts of stuff like that. But what I thought of, remember that time there were those, we were going for a drive down to a land-based fishing spot way down to the west, east, sorry. And we come across those two people on the push line.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
probably 70 kilometres from Borroloola.
Yeah, on some of the worst dirt road in Australia.
And they're on the push bikes.
Yeah, and the corrugations are that big. There's kangaroos on with the shade on.
Yeah, and we pulled up and just yelled, "You guys want a beer?" And they're like, "Yes, please." So we pulled up and had a couple of beers with them and just had a yarn, and then off we went. Bullfrog gave him a rock.
Yeah. Froggy, our good mate Froggy, no doubt you'll meet him in future episodes. He's an absolute champion.
He'll be a guest. He likes rocks.
He loves rocks. He really loves rocks. And if it's your birthday, look out, you're going to get one. So that was sick.
There was another fella that year. Remember, he was walking from somewhere to somewhere. He had like a trolley or something he pushed along.
Oh, yeah, yep.
He was raising money for...
Ferris Gump, I think his name was.
That was another one. There's all sorts of people that are here, not for fishing, you know.
Yeah, well, we haven't had him actually here yet, but the travelling jackaroo, he comes past up the road to Daily Waters. He's been there several times and, raising money for RFDS and all sorts of people like that. So, also not just driving and things, but with, guys flying through, they might be doing a trip around the country in an aeroplane or a helicopter.
Yep.
In actual fact, quite a few times now we've had groups of helicopters come through doing trips from like Sydney to Darwin or the Gold Coast to Darwin.
Yeah, and they've done it multiple times. We've started to get to know them over the years.
Yeah, well that's it. I mean, one of the guys pulled in last year and said, "G'day, met you here at the bar," and I was down working down the river, so he came and landed on the bank of the river and said g'day and got a feed of mud crab and kept going. So there's all sorts of people that come here and from all different walks of life, and we want to try and record some of their stories so that they can be shared amongst everyone, and give some people some inspiration to get out there and get amongst it.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a good plan.
Well, that's it, mate. So at the moment, so we're just about what are we now? November 20th. So things are just starting to wind down now. So we're not getting as many people through. It's sort of the end of our sort of tourist season.
Yeah.
It's colloquially known as the swing season between the wet. So we're between the dry season and the wet season now. So apart from the keen sort of barra fishermen and that sort of thing, there's not a lot of tourist sort of traffic. Commercial crabbing slowing down. Some of the guys have already stopped for the year. I've only got probably a couple of weeks left.
Yeah.
Everything's sort of slowing down now as we get into the wet season. A few storms starting to build up and that sort of thing. The season this year was really good. One of the better ones. Like I've only been commercially crabbing for 3 years, so it's only my third season, but from what I've seen, it's gone from strength to strength. Even though there's a fair bit of effort in this area, just with good wet seasons for the last few years, the crabbing's just been unreal. So it's been a really good season for everyone, and even like rec guys as well. I mean, I know you've been out and
yeah. You can just get some rusty old pots you find in the back of the shed and chuck them out there, and you're going to get crabs. You're going to catch mud crabs out there. It's been a sensational year. No one has complained about the crabbing this year.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So do you find? So you say with a good wet season, so you find that the crabbing is better if there's a good wet season? Absolutely.
So if you look at the data, it actually shows quite clearly, and it's the same for like barramundi as well. So when you have a good wet season, and when I say good wet season, doesn't necessarily mean that everything gets flooded all the time, but good consistent rain over a period of time without too much flooding, because one of the things, especially for mud crab, is if you get massive floods and massive river flows, what can happen, particularly here, and that may be the same in other rivers, I'm not sure, but certainly here, is sand and silt gets washed into the river, and then that covers some of the mud flats and things out the front. So so basically it turns the mud flats into sand, so the crabs don't want to stay there as much because their food source isn't living in the sand like it would be if it's mud. So
So even though you want a good wet season, you don't want it to be a raging...
Yeah, so we don't want the big cyclone to come through, big low pressure system coming in and sitting over us for several days and absolutely flooding it. We want good consistent rain for a long period of time. So all that nutrients and everything like that gets a chance to build up. All the microorganisms, everything in the fresh water builds up, gets into the river, feeds all the fish and everything like that, and then it goes down and into the coast, and that's why you get... Yeah, absolutely, and that's why this area particular, but the Gulf, the whole of the Gulf of Carpentaria is quite good for mud crab fishing, is because we don't often get the really big runoffs like you have like over in the west, like over, you know, places like Daly River and things like that.
Oh yeah, they've got millions of acres of floodplains and stuff like that. We don't really have that here, do we?
No, not certainly not around King Ash Bay area. There are some. If you go up towards the Roper, there's some floodplains up there, and to the east there are some floodplains, but not compared to what they are up around the Darwin sort of area and Daly River area, things like that. The Adelaide and Daly, the Moyles and those sorts of places. You know, they have massive floodplains, and although there's good crab in there as well, it's quite different to here. So that's we want good consistent rain, and that's what we had for the last few years. So and it's just gotten better and better and better. So now all those crabs are obviously breeding up, and you know, the catch is going up every year at the moment with the good wet seasons.
Yeah, something you said to me the other day that put when you mentioned the breeding, something that is sort of mind-blowing is about the eggs that they have. Like each female can have millions of eggs. So obviously there's a huge mortality rate, but technically, like in a perfect world, one crab could repopulate the entire area if all of them survived, which they might.
Absolutely.
But it's just crazy to think. Yeah, so that the amount of eggs and the amount of new crabs that are potentially coming into the area every year.
Absolutely. And so what happens is, and it's plenty of people will debate it, but the science is fairly clear on it. There's some peer-reviewed studies that have been done down in New South Wales and in other places as well. But so in females, they can hold between sort of 3 and 5 million eggs per season. Yeah. And what they do is they go out into they don't stay although they're called mud crabs, they don't just stay in the mud in the rivers or just on the coastal flats. They do actually go out into the ocean. And what happens is when they release those eggs, between 3 and 5 million, as you said, high mortality rate, but those eggs get dispersed, all everywhere, all along the coastline, with all sorts of currents. So, and again, this is why the Gulf is such a good place for mud crabs, is because they're almost contained a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's not like if you're in Brisbane or something like that, and the current's going from the south up to the north, and their eggs are laid there, but then they all get taken with the current north or whatever. They're sort of contained a little bit more. So and then obviously from eggs, when they get to the larvae stage and into an actual crab. Our belief is certainly and some of these guys have 30, 40 years of experience, more than me, but what most of them believe is that when we have good wet seasons and the right sort of river flows, the crabs they just know where to go. So they'll come into the areas that have had a good wet season and build up the population there.
So when you say 30 years, these are the professional mud crabbers here?
Some of the other guys here have been doing it for over 30 years. Yeah.
So we've had commercial mud crabbing in this river, in this area for 30 years. How has that not had an impact on the population? Like some other places you hear of, like down East Coast maybe, they've got all sorts of restrictions and people go out and put their pots in. I get comments on my videos saying that they've put their crab pots in for 3 days and can't get a crab. Like how do we have so many here?
Well, as I sort of mentioned already, it's just the area that it is, and because they breed so much that they're able to stay here. So, and what happens is, so people may be concerned about fishing an area, overfishing in a particular area. Now, certainly if all of the commercial operators, there's 9 of us I think here that work just out of the King Ash Bay area. I think there's 9 of us here. If we all worked in one small creek, obviously we'd fish that creek out very quickly. Yeah. But because we disperse over a fairly wide area, well, what happens is the crabs don't just live there all the time. The crabs can keep coming in waves throughout the season. So about March or so, we start work at the end of February, early March, after the wet season, and you start getting the males coming in, okay? The young males, the new males, they're all nice and clean, but a lot of them are empty early in the year, so people refer to them as water bags. Technically, we refer to them as CUC, so commercially unviable crabs. But 4 and 5 might be like that for a little while. But after 4 or 5 weeks, they'll feed up, and then they'll slowly become C grade, B grade, A grade, and then obviously we want to take the premium ones, so the A grade crabs. So if you're only taking 1 in 5, and we're working mostly out the flats that time of year because we don't want to be anywhere near the fresh water in the rivers, so we're working mostly outside. if we're only taking 1 in 5 or 2 in 5 early in the year, all those other ones that we're letting go, they can continue marching. They go into the creeks and rivers and whatever, and we just keep collecting them as they go through. So almost like a filter as they go through. We just filter out the good crabs, and all the CEC crabs can continue on where they're going. And so that's why we can stay in one particular area for forever, within reason, because they don't just live there, and that's you take the population out, they don't come back. It's not like that. It's not like culling animals on the in the savannah. It's completely different, and obviously they are like the cockroaches or the ants of the ocean. There's just so many of them, and it is 100% dependent on the seasons that you have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so if we did have a poor wet season and there's not many crabs around next year, it's not because we haven't overfished them. It's just
absolutely not. No, it's poor wet seasons, especially consecutive poor wet seasons.
Yeah, I remember a few years back that we did have quite a few years back now, but yeah, we had consecutive bad wet seasons and the fishing was not good.
Yeah,
and the crabbing, was not good.
Yeah,
the guys pulled their boats out, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the commercial guys, I think it was about 2016, and you can actually go back and look at the data, and it'll show quite clearly. We had poor wet seasons. So in 2016, a lot of the guys went and worked elsewhere. They're not crabbing; they just went and got other jobs because there wasn't enough crabs for everyone to go around. So I was just talking to one of the other guys about it this morning. Their catch was absolutely nothing compared to what it has been the last few years. So it was only sustainable for a few guys to work here at that time. But years ago, 30 odd years ago, my old man used to be in water police, and he recalls times coming actually down the MacArthur River in a small tinny with his off-sider. And he recalls seeing, the way he puts it is you could just about walk across the crab pot floats.
Yeah,
because there were dozens and dozens of commercial mud crab fishermen here.
I've heard him tell a story coming back at night, and you could just see the lights from the camps all the way up the river, he reckons.
Yeah, so, I mean, in terms of overfishing, I don't think we're in doubt about it. It's 100% comes down to wet seasons. And so we'll segue into like this wet season. So it's predicted that it's going to be a El Nino sort of season again, where we're in an El Nino swing. Although actually, as we sit at the moment, they're actually saying, well, the El Nino's taking a break and we're in this La Nina cycle again. So and we're actually getting a little bit of rain around the place. We haven't had a lot of rain here at King Ash Bay yet, only a few showers, but certainly there's been a lot of rain around, which is quite promising. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a decent wet season. So, and we're completely different to other places. So we're sort of almost in line, similar latitude to say Cairns, for example.
Yeah.
But obviously they'll get a lot more rain from us because they've got the big Coranda Range, the Great Dividing Range, Coranda Range right behind them. So they get a lot more rainfall than us. And then Darwin is slightly further north to us, and then they get the monsoon a lot more than what we do. So
it's more tropical up there.
Yeah, so we're sort of savanna or subtropical almost. So we don't rely solely on the monsoon coming down. We rely almost. We don't rely on the monsoon coming down like you would in Darwin. We almost solely rely on the low pressure systems coming out of the monsoon and heading south, and then bringing the rain, dragging the rain from the monsoon down.
And we might get 3 or 4 days of rain from a low that's nearby us.
And that's what we get. So even if it's predicted to be a poor wet season on average for places like Darwin or Cairns, that rely on Nhulunbuy, we can still get a decent wet season for us because our average rainfall is quite substantially lower than those, and we only require a few low pressure systems to come down throughout that December through March sort of period for us to get a good season. So
we spoke a lot about crabbing before. Let's move on to fishing, and actually let's talk specifics. Like you actually wrote some notes here. We talked about favourite fishing location. Do you have a favourite fishing location, whether it's here or abroad?
Well, yeah, I think my favourite fishing location, it's hard to put it on as just one because there's so many great spots, and I love it here, absolutely love it here. But I think solely for the fact that it's where I grew up. I love the Moyle rivers, the Little Moyle and Big Moyle, and growing up out there, that was and that's again talking about those floodplains. That's a place where you do get the big monsoons come through, and then massive big floodplains, and so you're going up a relatively small river compared to the MacArthur. You go up something like the Moyle River, is relatively small compared to here. And when you get to the top of it, it's only a couple of metres wide, and you're just onto millions of acres of floodplain, and the barrows just stack up there. In their tens of thousands, if not millions, and they're all trying to get up in that floodplain. So you can sit there in the boat, and you can catch literally at the right time, literally hundreds and hundreds of barra in a day. And when I first met my partner Katie, I took her over there for one Easter weekend, and she caught her very first barra there. So I think that's, in terms of my favourite location, I think that'd be pretty close to it, because it just because of the uniqueness of it, and it's where I caught my first barra, and fishing with my old man as a kid, and I've got a lot of fond memories of that. So
it's probably not as easy access as it is here as well. So it's probably the sort of thing most people don't get to do.
No, absolutely not. I mean, to get in there now, I'm not even sure. It's certainly you'd need permits and that sort of thing. So unless you're going with a commercial operator out of Darwin or something like that, that's got land access, that brings a mothership down from Darwin to there. It's or other than that, you may live at somewhere like Port Keats, or also known as Wadair. The proper name for it is Wadair. If you live there, you might be able to get permission from the TOs there to get access, the traditional owners, to get access in there, which is what we used to do when we were kids. And that's why I love it, because living in the community there. We were known, there was not many European kids there, my brother and myself and a few others, and growing up there, we were known by all the community, and you'd go out there to go fishing and come back, and you'd always bring a few barras back and give it to the traditional owners and stuff, and that was, I really enjoy that aspect of it. We used to do a lot of hunting and stuff out there as well when we were kids, with my old man and some of his colleagues and friends, go out and chase a few pigs and bring a couple of pigs back, and or magpie geese, and or sometimes go out with TOs, and do some hunting and fishing and that. So that's why it's my favourite place, mate. What do you got for your favourite place? I know most of your fishing has been up here, or your adult life's been up here.
Yeah, I did a little bit of fishing as a kid, but pretty much as an adult, all of my fishing has been in the Northern Territory, and almost all of it has been here, like the MacArthur River area, and like I've fished around Darwin, Shady, Adelaide River, Daly, but honestly, nothing beats down here. I leave my boat down here now.
Yeah.
I don't even take my boat back up to Darwin anymore. It's just so simple here, especially with the tides. Like up in Darwin, you got your 8 metre tides and stuff like that. I mean, if you were born and bred there, maybe that'd be the normal. But because I came here first and fished here, I got to know this area. Going up there just messed with my head. I didn't enjoy fishing up there at all. So fishing around here. So it all comes down to probably outside on good weather. I'd be outside around those islands, the Pilo Islands.
And it's such a good country out there, isn't it? I mean, I know it's referred to quite often as the Whit Sundays of the Gulf out there, and on a good day, it truly is crystal clear waters, nice coral reefs, the abundance of fish.
Special, it really is. Yeah. It's special out there.
Absolutely, and if you want to check any of this stuff out too, you've got plenty of YouTube videos there from...
heaps of videos.
To go look up Mikey Cunningham there.
You see out there, Brett from Waibi Fishing and Wilderness Lodge on North Island, he uploaded a photo last night, a big Mr. Squiggle.
Yeah, Mr. Squiggle, big marlin, absolutely.
I think it was.
Black, so I was talking to Brett last night at the bar, actually, and he whipped his phone out and said, have a look at this, Ash. Some of my boys that have been out to the lodge at Waibi there.
Yeah, their last customers of the year it was, too.
He produced his phone and showed his photo, and it was massive big black marlin. I mean, I've seen a couple, but that was definitely the biggest one that I've seen.
So it's not uncommon. No, it is uncommon. But every year you hear of one being caught, or at least hooked up to.
I think in terms of, I think they're definitely there.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to be targeting them.
Yeah. These guys caught on light gear. They were trying to catch mackerel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard plenty of stories of that, of people hooking up to marlin on mackerel gear and things.
Yeah.
I don't know of too many people that have actually been out there and spent a bit of time actually targeting them. Other than
targeting marlin,
actually
billfish.
Actually targeting billfish. Although we've got a couple of guys here, Steve and Jen, and they got a couple actually this year.
Last year or this year?
I think it was early this year.
There's a photo of one of them holding it in the water, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think and they went out there. They do a lot of fishing, obviously,
Yeah.
but they actually targeted it. And,
They targeted it, yeah.
Yeah, and small boats too. I mean, we're not talking, not talking black watches or Rivieras.
We're not talking offshore either.
No, we're just around the isles.
This one was caught like right near North Rock, the one yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing a fishing chart at North Rock there, just off the top of North Island. I've seen one actually came up and was hanging off the back of the dual engines with the stainless steel propellers spinning in the current. One actually came up just because of that flash, the stainless steel prop. One came up and buzzed the props a couple of times, came in for a look. So they're definitely around there. But in terms of catching them, I haven't heard of a lot of people catching them. But again, that's probably because not a lot of people target them. And if you really wanted to, I think you put the time and effort in. Yeah, if you're a keen marlin fisherman, I think there's definitely some untouched waters here in terms of really getting into.
We're 2 seconds away from Groot Island. They have billfish competitions there.
Absolutely. So
Brett was saying they come down towards this way to the marlin grounds.
yeah, I'm not.
It's from Groot. So
I've never been involved in that, but I know Rhett's been to Groot a couple of times and gone by boat, so it's not that far. It's only a couple of k's from the top of the islands here across to the bottom of Groot. So I don't even think it's that far. It's only 100 something k's maybe.
Yeah.
It's not far at all anyway, really, in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
And they get miles and miles of sailfish and marlin and stuff there. So they're definitely here. Absolutely.
what's your favourite fishing moment?
My favourite fishing moment? Well, although I've lived in the territory my whole life and I've done a lot of fishing, including guiding, although I didn't really do any barra guiding, it was mostly around the islands. But one of my favourite fishing moments is when I caught my first meatery, which you were there for. Bullfrog was there. And not just because it was my first meatery, but I was there with some really good mates. And so yourself, Bullfrog, and and our other mate Tremaine, and it was light gear, land based.
10 pounder, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10 pound gear, and small lure. I've got the lure. My missus has actually put it in a little frame, and with the photo we hold in the bar, and a little story there. Ash with his mates Mikey, Bullfrog, and Tremaine, first meatery, 107, and the location. So yeah, that was one of my favourite fishing moments. And one of the funniest things was when we actually landed, because 10 pound gear, I was pretty excited. You were through the bush a little bit fishing, didn't even believe me that I had a big fish on.
I was yelling and carrying on over on the other side of the bushes, and I thought, whatever, and I came back, and then I saw this thing jump, and I'm like, oh, we're serious. Tremaine's in the water, down up to about here in the water with the landing net, trying to go like this.
So, and he did. He got amongst it for me. He got right in there because a bit of a steep bank there. So he had to, he sort of fell into the water almost with the landing net. Got into the landing net. I've grabbed the landing net and run off, shot her buddy with it.
Carried on.
Poor old Tremaine.
He goes, get me out of here. So he landed the fish. I landed Tremaine. And then there we go. And you didn't fish for the rest of the day. The rest of it, we still caught a few fish. I reckon we even cooked one up. We caught one and cooked it up on the burner there.
Yep.
But yeah. That was a hell of a fish.
Oh yeah,
we just sat there drinking beer for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and as I was entitled to do.
Absolutely. It was released as well. A beautiful release.
Yeah, released well. Yeah, and we'll chuck a photo in there so you can see it, mate. That was you'll see how happy I was, mate. The smile here to here, mate. And so, what do you reckon your favourite fishing moment was, or favourite moment, mate? It's out in the water.
Out at the islands again. You were there, and Tremaine was there too.
Oh yeah. Well, there's plenty of stories there, but I think
Well, we actually went out. A bit of a rewind. We went out with Jeremy Wade from River Monsters on Animal Planet.
Yep.
Ash got a big contract to go out. They wanted to catch a huge groper. So so Ash had the charter business at the time. I drove the second boat for you, the little camera boat.
Yeah.
And out we went there, and we did however many days of fishing. And then on the the last day.
It was the last day, the very last day.
You're a better storyteller. You tell it. You know the story. I know it's my favourite moment, but
So we're at the Isles. We got this contract to do a job for Animal Planet with River Monsters with Jeremy Wade was the name of the program, and I think it was the #1 show on Animal Planet at the time. It was quite a popular program, and the episode's called Death Down Under. And so it was basically they were travelling across Northern Australia. They're doing tiger sharks, box jellyfish, crocodiles. And then one of the things they wanted to do was catch a giant Queensland groper as part of their storyline,
which we are allowed to do here in the north.
Which we are allowed to catch them. You're not allowed to keep them over 1.2 meters. Not that you keep them anyway because they're beautiful fish, but you are allowed to target them and catch them. So we took that contract on. We had 2 boats going. We had several guys there, so including Jeremy. We had a producer, a sound guy, 2 cameramen, a tech guy, you, myself, Katie came out and did all the cooking and catering for everyone. And basically the plan was to spend the week out there at Wavy Lodge at North Island, which is Brett's place, what we just talked about.
Where that marlin's caught.
And it's exactly where that marlin was caught the other week or last week. And the plan was to go out there to North Rock, try and catch a giant groper. So we'd been there for several days already, and we'd hooked onto plenty of them, and seen a couple, but we hadn't quite got one all the way to the boat. And our last morning we're heading out, and it was a bit rougher than the previous few days. The wind had picked up a little bit. It was in November, like the end of the year. It was hot as buggery. It was, in the mid-40s, nearly 100% humidity. Hadn't seen any clouds really. It was just no rain in sight. We were coming back for lunch to the lodge there and laying on the rocks under the big mahogany tables.
Yeah, these big thick tables. Yeah, the bed that was like almost insulated.
Yeah,
I think some of the other boys were laughing at us, but we would literally. I fell asleep a few times under there. I reckon
it was a very, very, and this all leads into this story too, because it was atrocious conditions. I really felt sorry for them guys because they just come from northern winter, so they just come from Europe and being below zero to straight to here. So mid-40s and extremely high humidity.
What's the tablets you put in water?
Hydrolyte,
They were taking them like Tic Tacs.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last day where everyone's buggered, everyone's absolutely exhausted. We hadn't got the shot that they really wanted. We had actually just spoken about maybe extending for a couple of days and trying to go, which nobody, including myself, even though I was getting paid for it, didn't really want to extend because everyone was just at the end of it pretty much, being that time of year. But the last morning, we departed the lodge and headed towards North Rock as we had done the previous several days. And on the way across there, it was a little bit rough. And me being in the bigger boat was going a fair bit quicker than you in the second boat with the camera too.
Yeah.
So
and he's holding a $40,000 camera or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's it. So so it was Mikey's going a fair bit slower than I was. So camera one, the cameraman #1 asked me if we could just go around the corner a little bit and try and get out of the rough weather while we waited for these guys to catch up. So that he could get some shots of the escarpment and get a reveal shot of North Rock where we were. So we went around the first little headland into a little bay. Then it was still a little bit rough. So he said, "Oh, look, can you go around, try and get a bit calmer water again?" So I said, "Yeah, no worries. If we go around into the next bay, then that'll be pretty sheltered in there. You should be able to do everything we can reassess." And I think I might have radioed you and said, "We're just going to be in here when you get around." And so we pulled into this, almost into this next bay, and I think it was Jeremy who had binoculars, and he was sort of looking around, and he's just, turned around and looked at me and said, "Hey, there's a guy up on the beach there naked. Turn around and go. There's people skinny dipping." And I'm like, "Russ, there's no one out here skinny dipping." I can tell you that right now, mate. This is a wild country. There's just no one here. That time of year, it's late in November. There was just no one here that time of year. So, there was no chance of anyone being there skinny dipping. And so I'm intrigued of, I said, "What are you looking at, mate? What are you looking at?" And then I did sort of make out somebody sort of on the beach. And I thought, "Oh, yeah, somebody's, had a drama here for sure," because I couldn't see any boats or anything.
Yeah, the boat must have sunk or something.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Somebody's boat sunk. And then when Jeremy gave me the binoculars so that I could look through, I was looking at him going, "Oh, that's my mate Tremaine." And then it just sunk in. I recalled that before we'd gone out for that trip, he said, "Oh, because he was living with me at the time and helping us build our house here, he did say to me, look, I may get out there in my boat and go and camp at Paradise Bay, which is the national park there, before I head down south. But if I do, I'll catch up with you. If not, though, I'll be heading back down south for Christmas. So if I see you, I'll see you. If not, I'll catch you next year. So, yep, no worries, mate, all good. And as soon as I saw him through the binoculars, I thought, oh, no, he's come out here and his boat's sunk or something and whatever. So, so I've quickly radioed Mikey and said, Mikey, hurry up and get around this corner. It's because it was too shallow and rocky for me to get all the way into the bank.
With the big boat.
So, so Mikey's come around and we've swapped boats. I've jumped into the smaller boat and driven into the bay much closer. And Terrain's walked out with a fishing rod, a bucket. By this stage, he's put his footy shorts back on and he's walked out and just jumped off the rocks and started swimming out and dog paddling out. And passed his stuff into the boat and tried to talk to me, and his voice was just dry as anything. And he's just saying, water, water. And I'm like, what, you're right, mate? Like, get in the boat first, get in the boat. And he's like, water, water. And the only thing we had was ice cold water from the esky. And I knew, you know, he'd been there for a while. So I said, well, mate, I can give you some water. Just don't scull it. Just sip it. Just sip it. Otherwise, you'll make yourself really sick, mate. And so handed him a bottle of water, which he tried to scull straight away and was immediately sick. So I took it off him and said, right, just calm down for a minute, mate. Like, you know, what's happened? And then, yeah, he told us his story of, you know, he'd gone out and gone to Paradise Bay and gone for a walk that afternoon. And he got there, just threw his anchor out right up against the beach. And thought, oh, well, I'll just walk across to the next bay, which he's done plenty of times before, and I've done it with him before.
There's like a walking track there.
There's a little track there, yeah, that goes from Paradise Bay across into the next bay. And so he's walked across there, and, you know, he's made it to his spot, and he's done a bit of fishing or whatever. It's starting to get a little bit dark, so he thought, oh, well, I'll start heading back. He started heading back and lost the track, and then it got dark. So he thought, well, number one rule is don't just keep walking if you don't know. So he just waited till the morning. Sun came up, got his bearings, and started walking again, thinking he's going in the right direction. Unfortunately, when he made it back to the coast, he was nowhere near where he thought he was supposed to be, and again lost where he was. And he continued that for 3 days with no water, only a singlet, pair of footy shorts, a bucket, one beer that he took with him, which obviously he drank fairly early on. And when we found him, he was in a very, very bad way. So, but yeah, that's a.
If we didn't find him that morning, like, he wouldn't have made it another day.
He was in a very, very bad way, and you know, it's was a very, very real tough time for us because we're really good mates with him, obviously, and that. We were just in so much shock. We're already in shock from doing this job with this, you know, massive professional film crew that were there from overseas, and you know, had all this other stuff on our mind, and it all sort of just happened so quick that, you know, after a little while there, and getting some water into him, and the medic guy there gave me some hydrolytes and things, and went over him, and you know, he said, oh look, just take me back to my boat around to Paradise Bay, and I said, oh look, we can do that if you promise me to come around to the lodge and stay there tonight with us. We're heading back in tomorrow potentially. And we'll go back in together as a group. So that's what we did. You took him back around to Paradise Bay and dropped him off at his boat, and then and then went out to back out to North Rock to get amongst it again and try and see what we could come up with.
And then the very last hour of the trip.
Yeah, well,
we actually got him onto the fish.
That's it, mate. That's
this big grover. We've just saved our mate's life.
Like, that was it was one of those things that people don't believe any of it, really.
People think we staged it.
Yeah,
and it's like, well,
it was 100%, and I can't explain the feeling. It was one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. Was, you know, we just rescued our best mate, and this is only a couple of hours after rescuing him, or an hour and a half after rescuing him. Things have started to sink in about, you know, wow, if we hadn't have been here. You know, if all these things didn't line up. Yeah,
if it wasn't slightly rough, you wouldn't have gone around that next corner because I was slow.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have gone around that corner, which means you never would have seen him there. Like, it would have been 2 weeks later, we would have heard.
Well, when we came back here, we would have seen his Toyota and his trailer there and thought, well,
where is he?
What's happened, you know? So, you know, it could have been a vastly different story, and I'm just so thankful that, that we found him. And then, an hour and a half after that, then we hook onto this groper, the biggest one that we'd hooked onto it ever for that trip. And managed to get it all the way to the boat and, get it across onto some shallow rocks there so that Jeremy could get in there and get all the shots they wanted. They got all their shots with this massive fish, and you can look it up on YouTube, Death Down Under. There's plenty of shorts of it on TikTok, all sorts of things. Like, it was a monster groper.
It was the dying moments of the trip.
It was absolutely like a fairy tale coming true. And everyone was absolutely buggered. Yeah, at that stage, everyone was absolutely buggered. We went back to the camp, saw the guys Katie and the tech guys that were back there doing work, and said, "Yep, we've got it." And we found our mate Tremaine, who was nearly finished out of this bloody beach. So, it was just the absolute best feeling ever. I mean, then guys straight away got me to call up a helicopter, get a helicopter out there so they can do some aerial shots. And we got Leo, I think it was.
From Heartbreak.
Yeah. So Leo, I think it was, actually listed Leo, mate. Good job. So got Leo out there in the chopper and got the camera up there and got all these epic shots from the helicopter and this whole week-long trip boiled down into about 7 minutes of the actual episode, which blew my mind because
mid-budget,
massive budget, and I wasn't much of it, I can tell you. If I ever do it again, Jeremy, mate, I'm going to charge you some more money next time. But that was absolutely one of my favourite things of all.
So people can just come here and have experiences like this. You just have to get out there. So
absolutely.
Let's talk about advice for people coming here to this region, maybe first timers.
First timers, yeah. Okay, so
or anywhere remote, really. It doesn't have to be here. Yeah,
well, okay. So I suppose some really important things are, especially if you're not from the bush or if you haven't spent much time in remote areas. So if you're from Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane, wherever, and you haven't been out all that much, some very basic things you should probably know is like some basic maintenance and things like that on your vehicle and your trailer, especially if you're towing a boat or caravan or something like that, camper trailer. If you make sure you keep some spare things like some wheel bearings. If you don't know how to do your own wheel bearings or change a tyre, get on a buy swap and sell page and offer a bloke a carton of beer to come around and teach you, and do those things, because not only could it save you a hell of a lot of money if you have problems on the way, in serious circumstances, could save your life in some circumstances.
Well, there's certain roads around here that at this time of year, there's no tourists travelling on them. So you could go at half a day or a day without another car coming past.
Yeah, absolutely. So, especially if you're, travelling with kids or, anything like that. And, and as we just said, about rescuing Tremaine, make sure you got plenty of water, I mean, obviously, he was only going like a few hundred metres from his boat on a place that he'd been several times before, knew exactly what he's doing, extremely fit fella.
Yeah.
And, it could have ended extremely differently, if he hadn't had some more water and stuff with him at EPIRB. And I know now whenever he goes anywhere now, he's got a camelback on. He's got some flares in it. No, he's got some matches. He just quit smoking. He's still got smoking, so he's a lighter all the time. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So,
So obviously, and he doesn't live around here anymore, but we're still good mates with him. We actually all hooked up around Christmas time.
Christmas January this year.
Yeah, we went and caught up with him and reminisced on old times.
Had a good laugh and a bit of a cry about it. When we brought it up, it was obviously highly emotional for everyone involved in it. It was a very, very tough time for everyone. But make sure you got plenty of water. Basic things like being able to change your tyres and wheel bearings, those sorts of things. If you're travelling here and you've got a specific type of setup, whether it be your camper trailer or your Toyota or your vehicle or whatever, specific parts and things like that, often hard to get. Yeah. If you're coming to King Ash Bay, the servo here has got just about everything you could ever want. But other places, or if it's very specialised stuff, make sure you got some parts and you know what to do with those, because getting freight in here, getting mail in here, I mean, we call it the snail mail. You'd be better off sending it on a pigeon than you would be with Australia Post. Shout out to Australia Post. You know, it can take weeks and weeks to get stuff here, even if it's express post airbag and stuff.
Yeah.
There's no express post here. There's no airbags to here. There's 2 trucks a week come from Darwin, and if you miss an airbag flight or you miss an express post to Darwin or Catherine, they're not on the truck that week. You got to wait till the following week. So,
But that makes sense. So if an item is in Darwin, like we can usually get it here fairly quickly.
yeah, 3 to 5 days sort of
Depending
thing.
on which truck, it goes jagged or right.
Yeah, if you get everything perfect, you can get it, you know, within 24 hours.
Yeah.
But quite often that's not the case. So and then you've got to allow for things getting sent out that aren't accurate as well, which is you know, quite often happens. You know, some other things, I suppose, you know, when you're travelling places like this, we've got a lot of single roads here. So
single lane,
single lane road. So
very narrow as well.
So you've done how many trips this year to Darwin?
Well, 11. So my wife and kids, we live in Darwin, but I come down here and make videos and stuff like that quite a lot. I've done 11 trips this year. So we're in November. I've done 1 trip a month pretty much. Yeah. So.
And what's that road like now?
Oh, look, the one from Daly Waters to here, the first 50 Ks is absolutely gorgeous. Best road in Australia. Every trip I do, because they're working on it now, they keep opening up more and more sections of it. It's so good, but they're replacing the single lane highway, and that single lane, it's like, I don't know, people just need to switch on. They just need to think about what's going on. Like, if you see a truck coming towards you, move off the road and stop and let the truck come past.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I drive in the, you know, I used to drive the truck a fair bit to Darwin with all the live mud crabs for the boys before I started commercially crabbing.
Yeah.
And one of my pet hates was you're in a truck, a much bigger vehicle, takes you a long time to get up to speed, takes you a long time to slow down. Sometimes if it's the right time of year, the sides of the road are wet, and if you pull off the side of the road in a truck, you get stuck.
Yeah, car will be fine.
And you get a car and caravan, you know, a Toyota pulling the caravan coming the other way, and they won't pull off the road, or they'll drop 2 wheels off the road and keep coming at you. You know, and like you just can't do that. You know, like if you see a truck coming, it doesn't even have to be a truck. If you see a vehicle coming the other way and you're towing a boat or a caravan, it's much better for you just to slow down, pull right off the road, let them go past, give them the whole road. Because if you pull off the road 2 wheels, they pull off the road 2 wheels, you're both flicking up rocks. That's how you smash your windscreens, you lose your mirrors, all that sort of stuff. You're more likely to do tyres. Like just slow down, pull off the side of the road. You're on holidays, you're retired.
That's the one that frustrates me. The absolute most is when you pull off the road and you put all 4 wheels off the road, and then a car will still drop 2 wheels on their side. I'm like, that defeats the whole purpose of me moving. I gave you the road.
And they're still doing 100 k's an hour as well, and they're flicking up rocks everywhere. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, they're the blokes you get on the radio and have a chat to very nicely. So things like that.
I mean, it comes to experience as well. Like at first, if you're a first timer, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't think about something like that.
Yeah.
But
and some people just simply don't know.
Yeah.
But by law, I believe you're supposed to actually pull off the road for trucks if you're in a normal car or towing a caravan, towing a boat, whatever. You are supposed to give way to bigger vehicles.
Yeah.
So you got to, and sometimes they're a triple road train, or here with the mining and stuff that's going on. Sometimes quads. The trucks are 54.5 meters long.
And there's some blind corners too along there too. So if you see one of them, you get off the road real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same goes to if you're coming, to here or anywhere else where you're travelling on dirt roads. Don't travel in other people's dust. Don't do that.
Certainly don't overtake in dust. I've seen some horror videos of people. Yeah, because you won't see the oncoming traffic.
Yeah, and not necessarily just oncoming traffic, but other hazards like animals. Buffalo, horses, cattle, pigs, all that sort of stuff. Big washouts, especially early in the year, just after the wet season. Anywhere on dirt roads where they haven't, especially if it hasn't been graded yet, you'll get places where it's washed out. There could be a metre deep hole in the middle of the road, and you go to pass somebody or overtake somebody in the dust. And if you can't see where you're going, just slow right down, because so many people get injured or wreck their vehicles, and not just, it ruins your trip.
Yeah.
You saved all your money, you spent $100,000 on a caravan or a boat or a Toyota or whatever, and you planned this trip for the last 12 months, and you haven't even made it here yet, and you've got to turn around and go home because you've smashed everything up because you're too impatient for the last 100 Ks. So slow down on them dirt roads, obviously. And another thing is, don't always take advice from other people. I found, talking to a lot of people here this year, something that's come up a fair bit is, people come and ask me what the road's like across the top road, and I say, okay,
It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Some people's opinion,
absolutely. My first thing is as well, how much experience have you got on dirt roads? You drive dirt roads all the time, never been on a dirt road. Okay, well, I'd say that road's horrible. Okay? If I ask the same question and somebody says, oh no, I've been to the Cape 7 times in the last 7 years, and I'd say, oh no, the road's pretty good, mate, you'll be right.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to people's experience and their expectations. So if you're talking to somebody and you're planning to do one of these trips, and it could be the Savannah Way from here, you want to go from here across to Dulwich up to Corumba or Normanton or whatever, and you've never done on a dirt road before, and you pull up at the servo and say to the bloke in his 200 series Toyota, oh mate, what's the road like? And he says, oh no mate, she's no worries, she's all good, no dramas, just come across it then, there's no worries. You don't know, he might have done that road 100 times, and it might be the best trip he's ever had, but to you it could be absolutely horrible. So
just on a little micro scale here, like to drive to King Ash Bay from anywhere, the last 21 kilometres here is a dirt road. We get some people that come in here and they'll be, oh, that's the worst road I've ever driven on. Yet at the same time, back when, say, my wife was driving, she used to work in Borroloola and drove that road 5 days a week, and she was 4 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And drove it 5 days a week, and it was fine.
Yeah.
The next person said, oh, that's the worst road in Australia, and my wife's like,
yeah, it's really like bad.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to experience as well. Like
if you're towing as well, a bit like if you got a mistake, some of the corrugations or, like caravans will really feel like you shake all your.
Absolutely, and it comes down to some people's equipment as well. Like, I mean, some people might have spent $200,000 on a truck. Some people might have spent $30,000 on a truck. So it just depends, as well on what equipment you've got, and not just that, but like really most of it comes down to experience. So letting your tyre pressure down, for example, don't be running bloody 100-pound, across the dirt road, especially when it's corrugated, because it will shake you to pieces.
Yep.
Let your tyres down to an appropriate level. It's very easy to do now. You can go and get tyre deflators. You can set the pressure on them and just plug them in, and it'll deflate to that pressure, and then just pump it up again when you get to town. Like it's easy things like that. One of the other things which I notice a lot here now I'm driving between King Ash Bay and Borroloola is people that if they're towing a boat or caravan, even some people are not towing anything, and they're doing 15 k's an hour or 20 k's an hour across the corrugations. That is one of the worst things you can do. It's very similar to driving a boat in choppy conditions. There's a speed in which it's better to go faster rather than slow.
You can either go really slow or a bit faster.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That middle.
There's a happy speed there for it, and I think generally what it tends to be is the average speed of most of the cars that travel on there, is because that's how the corrugations are formed.
Yeah, okay.
So you can travel at the average speed, which usually on this road here maybe around 85 k's an hour.
Yeah, I'd say most vehicles will drive at 85. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you sit on that, you'll find it'll be way smoother, a lot smoother.
Yeah.
And again, that could be why some people will say, oh, the road's the worst in Australia. Others will say, oh no, the road's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I tell you what else I do when I'm driving on that dirt road to Borroloola and I am going 85, 90 k's an hour, I'll drop it into four-wheel drive.
Yeah, chugging high four. Yeah.
Yeah, on the corners of that, it just feels a little bit more in control.
Absolutely. And that's one thing too, I suppose, driving on corrugations, especially if you haven't done it before. And I mean, a lot of you guys that are listening are probably thinking, geez, they're waffling on about dirt roads. I live in the terrace, I don't want to hear it. That's fair enough. And there's probably some guy in Sydney who's thinking, this is really important information, I'm writing it down.
I think that being our first episode, a lot of this is like we're laying foundations here. This is sort of for the first time, I reckon. We're talking about, we've done a lot of basics here today.
Yeah. So just going back to that and putting it in high four. So when you drive on corrugations, you're almost skating, so it can be almost like driving on ice as well. So you're putting it in high four,
especially if you're on a corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And when the road has a camber on a corner or something like that, you have to be really careful. So putting it in high four is a great way to make sure you keep going the right direction. I think all government vehicles now are actually required. They're like police cars, ambulances, stuff like that. They drive on dirt roads are all required to drive in high four.
That sounds like the dirt.
That's required. And I think a lot of NGOs, non-government government organisations do that as well.
Yeah.
They in actual fact, some government vehicles that I've been in actually have it marked on the vehicle, the stickers on the dash saying.
That would be a very territory thing to have on your dash, wouldn't it?
In front of the speedo.
Yeah, someone driving around Sydney for work probably doesn't need that on there.
No, probably not. Anyway.
All right. So while we are talking about the basics, like, do you want to talk a little bit more about King Ash Bay, where we are here?
Yeah. So once you've gone across the dirt road into King Ash Bay,
if you survive it,
if you survive it, no, it's actually really good at the moment. It's just been great. It's perfect. So if you've never been here before, you don't know anything about it. So it's King Ash Bay Fishing Club. We're basically 500 acres of land, which is leased in perpetuity for the Northern Territory government, and it's more or less, the best way to describe it, it's a small town. So we do everything ourselves. So we have a management team, a voluntary management team, and then we employ staff to run things like we have a licensed bar and grill. So we have a bar manager and a kitchen manager that operate those businesses all for the club. Then we have powered camping sites, unpowered camping sites.
so it's how we make our own power here.
We make our own power, absolutely generate our own power. We have our own garbage truck, our own garbage collection. Absolutely everything's done in-house.
Pump our own water.
Pump our own water, so we've got a bore 10 kilometres away. We've got several bores, solar bores that pump water. So absolutely everything that you get in a city, we do here ourselves, which is it's a testament to the club. It's I think it's our 40th birthday next year.
Yeah, imagine the founding fathers of the club from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Imagine them seeing it today, what it is now.
Absolutely. I mean, this used to be the whole club used to be down the river quite a way, and now we've got amazing facilities with really big plans to improve those facilities in the next year or so.
Exciting times.
We've actually just put in a couple of brand new barbecue areas.
The camp kitchens.
Camp kitchens this year. So we're both in our unpowered and powered areas. We've got free electronic barbecues and tables and chairs and stuff undercover for people to use if they're in the powered or unpowered sites. Then there are also people that live here almost full time. A lot of people live here sort of 8 months of the year. So they might have a place in Adelaide or Brisbane or Melbourne or whatever, but they also have a place here, so they come here for most of the dry season. So they're
Take
here
advantage of that weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
The weather is so nice here in the dry season.
Yeah, absolutely. So nice cool nights, warm days. It is almost perfect weather actually here, and that's why it's so popular with people. I think it's mostly because of that weather.
Yeah, well, people come from months of the year. Like they'll literally plant veggie gardens next to their caravans.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we have about 100 odd actual permanent dwellings that people live in.
Yep.
We've got a few businesses that run out of here. So we've got houseboats that operate out of here. We've got cabins. As I mentioned earlier, we've got a full bar and licensed bar and kitchen there, so you can come and get a meal. During the season, we're open from lunchtime, 7 days a week.
That's a new thing this year.
That's a new thing this year.
No, that's been so good.
It has been really, really good.
And popular too.
Very
a lot
popular.
of people coming down. I think there was a few. I wouldn't say. I didn't hear negative comments, but people sort of worried about, will this work? Well,
it's gone really good this year. So, and it's only going to keep getting better. So if you're planning to come here, you can pretty much get everything you need. There's a service station here which supplies pretty much everything you can buy at Woolworths or
don't fill up your car with a 20 kilo bag of potatoes, and you don't need to buy bulk stuff. Bring bulk stuff.
The only things you really need to bring are specific things that are really obscure things. Anything that's even half normal, you'll be able to get here.
Yeah.
And the other thing is as well, like people, the survey, they do provisioning for people as well. So if you're here during the season and you want something that they don't have, which is pretty unlikely, but if they don't have something you want, like you talk to them over there, they'll be able to order it in for you.
Yeah.
And even if they can't, you'll be able to order stuff online. You can get mail here. We collect mail once a week and bring it into the office here. So
what if someone's boat breaks down?
So again, the service station, the two mechanics there flat out. They're very, very busy because they are quite good at it. So boat repairs, welding, aluminium welding, all that sort of stuff you can get done here. Pretty much anything you can get done in Brisbane, you can get done here, more or less. Unless it's something extremely specific.
Yeah.
And
even I suppose we also got our local town of Borroloola, which 40-minute drive away.
Yeah, about 40 minutes from here. So you're in Borroloola.
If you need an electrician or something like that,
Yeah, so, well,
you can maybe find one in Borroloola.
Yeah, we got care. There's industries there. They've got electricians, plumbers, builders, all that sort of stuff. There's a butcher shop there, so you can get fresh meat if you want. But yeah, anything you can get in town, you can get here.
So even though we're so remote, I think you mentioned earlier, 700 kilometres from the nearest traffic lights.
Yeah, which is Catherine.
Yeah.
So we're 1,000 kilometres from Darwin, 1,000 kilometres from Mount Isa, about 1,200 kilometres from Alice Springs.
Yeah.
So we're about 300 kilometres west of the Northern Territory Queensland border.
Yeah.
And obviously, as we talked about the islands earlier, so we're Edward Pillar group of islands. There's about 80 islands in the group there, which is the Northern Territory's answer to the Whitsundays. And it is absolutely beautiful there. So even
though we're in the middle of nowhere, we're still very civilised here. Like,
most of the time.
I was looking at maybe not the people,
No, the place is fairly civilised.
Yeah.
It is quite good. We have a great time. And
we love it here. Like, if we didn't, we wouldn't be here, would we?
Yeah. So that's it, mate. What do you reckon, mate?
I reckon the bar will still be open. I wouldn't mind going down for a couple of schooners.
Oh, it could be. Mate. Going to a couple of schooners and wrap this up. So, what are we going to do for people if they... we might drop some at the bottom of the screen there with an email address. If people want to let us know...
Questions or...
Any questions,
topics they want us to talk about.
We're absolutely very green at this, especially me. I mean, Mikey's been involved in media production and stuff, but... we're extremely green at this. I've certainly got no formal qualifications in anything slightly related to this. I'm not going to turn my computer on.
Oh, look, you're a good talker, good storyteller.
Any comments, give us some shit if you want. But we're out here giving it a go and just let us know what you think. Questions, comments. Even if you've got any memories of if you've been here before or you met us somewhere or something like that, you've got any things you want to mention or anything like that,
send us some photos, anything.
Absolutely. So
tell us to react to something. If you saw something crazy, send us a video and
we'll put a link on anyway, so you can you can do all that sort of stuff. Future episodes, our plan is to get people on.
Yeah.
It won't just be us two bloody buffaloes here boring you. So we'll try and get some more interesting people than us.
Yeah.
And we'll get that happening as soon as we can.
Yeah. What are we going to have a schedule? Are we going to try and upload regularly?
Yeah, I think at least once a week. I think we'll try and have one episode a week. Sometimes it might be just us two.
Bring the book back in. Let's pay homage to these guys.
Oh, these guys, absolutely. These guys have been.
So I reckon we need to upload on a Friday afternoon.
Well, that's the tinny used to be done on a Saturday morning, but for the last several years, it's been on Friday afternoon. And these guys have done such a great job for the territory. They've produced just some of the best yarns. And look, that's how good the yarns have been. They've actually Rob Smith, who hasn't been there for a little while, actually got this book, compiled a lot of these stories, put a lot of these photos in there. And we're hoping to recreate that in some way. Obviously, again, not trying to copy what they're doing, or certainly not trying to be better than them or anything like that. Where we're a million miles from being anything like that. But the plan is, they've given us a bit of inspiration as well. So
there's just a big hole left in the Northern Territory fishing industry with
absolutely
with that stuff. There's a lot of people are going to be upset that they're gone. So
if you look on their socials, mate, you just look at the comments and stuff there. The comment section is absolutely jam packed. With all the people there, and I know I'm certainly going to miss it. It was always one of my favourites, especially driving trucks for a long time. At 12, 14 hours at a time, I used to save them up, make them up, and I'd have. Before
I started, I think you covered it before, but you basically got me into podcasts before I started listening to them. And you did. I was out one time fishing with you, and you were listening to Tales from the Tinny. So you were you were listening to a fishing podcast while fishing. I'm just sitting there shaking my head going, is this guy for real? Like, what's going on? Yeah, and now I'm fully converted. I love my podcast now. And I completely get it now.
Yeah, well, it's it's a massive part of my experience now and the way I do things. I mean, I'm listening to podcasts all the time, and a lot of favourites like Rogan, Alpha Blokes. There's all sorts of stuff that I love listening to, and I to be honest, I wouldn't know what I'd do now if I didn't have access to those things.
I couldn't do the drive. I couldn't driving 1,000 kilometres each way 11 times this year, like without podcasts.
So I
can't listen to music for that long.
No, that's when you get pretty sick of your same playlist over and over again. Even with Spotify Premium, your playlists get a bit old. And one of my favourites again was listen to Tales of Tinny, and like I said at the start of this, we were planning this for the last few months.
Yeah.
And then it just happened.
We'd even been talking about the idea of doing a podcast for a couple of years, I suppose.
Yeah. And we only sort of started getting serious about it a few months ago and putting a plan together. And then, we're just about ready to do our first ever episode. And then we just find out a couple of days ago that these guys are unfortunately finishing up at the end of this year. I'm not sure exactly what the story is around that. I know, I think what they've posted on their socials is that they believe it's just their time to finish up.
Yeah,
I think reading the comments section and looking at some of the people that are upset about it, I think they're going to be extremely missed. And I genuinely hope that we can fill a little bit of a hole from that maybe in the future.
That's the best way to describe it. Try and fill a little bit of the hole.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, there's been a plan in the works a long time before we found out about that, but it's just a very uncanny coincidence that this has come about, and so maybe this will give people something that they can listen to, and if you've got a good yarn or anything like that, get in contact with us. And if you're traveling this way and you want to have a chat to us or tell us a story, it doesn't have to be in this sort of setting. We can have a chat to somebody at the pub and have a beer with you and have a yarn and put you on whatever. So we're keen for anyone that's got a good yarn on them, a good story. Let us know, and we're in amongst it.
All right, let's shut it down, Russ.
Right, mate. What do you reckon? Good job.
Oh, look at that. Oh, beauty.